Well, I'm joined by Courtenay Heading here in the studio. It's another catch-up with him, and statins and also vaccines. The story, I mean, before we came on air, you just give me a briefing, but it's almost unbelievable. And first of all, we're covering the story, but I don't see you getting much media attention elsewhere. What's going on? Are we giving you too much, or are people not interested, or what? Because you have this crusade going on.
No, it's a crusade. I started off bringing 60 companies to the Isle of Man and then realising that their definition of health wasn't what I thought. I'm looking at wellness rather than health. So the huge money behind the whole industry of health treatment or sick treatment is so enormous that I believe there's a lot of what we call regulatory capture, a lot of organisations that simply want to blow the whistle, but until they're out of it, they can't. So you have enormous media campaigns of any drug, medicine, vaccine that go around the world at the same time. And as soon as you start to see those footprints, you then say, well, why is this information being deplatformed? Why do we have Amazon have just taken down the film Vaxxed from Amazon Prime? Why has the...
Why?
Because they don't want a debate. We want open science.
Is it debate, or is it scaremongering people?
There's two things. If we don't have scientific debate, we don't make progress. And if you've got an old mantra that the one of smoking in the 30s to the 50s was smoking opens the bronchioles. You know, we have this smoking, you know, doctors prefer Camel. These were well-known adverts. We put arsenic in tobacco to help open the bronchioles and kill disease. It was madness. So these scientific norms take years to escape, 20 to 30 years from the lab to the person, the patient. So with vaccines and taking down the film Vaxxed, that's just perpetuating what's gone on with Pinterest and with other organisations saying we don't want this debate, the science is settled.
But I mean, the pharmaceutical business has massive amount of money, therefore they have massive interests, right? And they've got lawyers. And we have to be so careful on this thing every time about
I've said
what you have to say and what you can't say, because obviously, you know, you've got to be careful. But are you up against this, though? I mean, do you want to say what you're up to now and what's going on?
What I'm up to. Okay, what I'm up to now is to bring you up to date. I gave evidence on Hansard in the Parliament here to the Social Affairs Committee on statins. That was the end of a 2-year journey, and now we have doctors interested in understanding the science of cholesterol and what happens. So when you look at that platform over this weekend, the Daily Mail covered a big article on statins are wonderful, 12 million people are on them. But that flies in the face of people like Malcolm Kendrick, who wrote the book The Cholesterol Con, flies in the face of Zoe Harcombe, who's just presented to the British Parliament. So I want to do the same thing here with no legal protection. So we don't worry about lawyers, we look at scientific truth, we look at the evidence of herd immunity, of how vaccines work when they're injected into you, and what's in the vaccine. So what we're up to now, declare my hand, is working with a company called Corvelvo in Italy. They looked at vaccines and they found that what was on the label was not what was in the vaccine. One had 6 antigens. None of those 6 antigens were found in that Infanrix vaccine. The other one was Gardasil 7, formerly called Gardasil 9, but it didn't have 2 of the strains in that vaccine.
Okay, come on. They have to. There's laws on this sort of thing. It's like buying food and it hasn't got something in it. Surely everyone has to list their products.
They list the products, but no one's really tested what's in a vaccine. So you have to have what's in food. We have food standards on the Isle of Man. And when you try and put up labels in Australia, as people have billboards to say what's in a vaccine, you're forced to take them down. What I'm saying is let's test the vaccine so then parents can have confidence and doctors here can have confidence in what's in the vaccine. So since January, I've had GPs here, emails, send me, once they've looked at the evidence of HPV vaccine and the harms of that vaccine, one has said, I fear we're sitting on a time bomb. Another has said this is a red flag when they look at the patient evidence of harms post HPV vaccination.
But you haven't got all doctors going with you. I mean, Dr. Allison, of course, is one that's...
We had an interesting debate on the 29th of October, so that public. So I think we have to let the evidence speak. I would welcome to come on this programme and speak, but I want to do this in Parliament so we have a permanent record with no legal protection on whistleblowers or social affairs, both of which said they don't wish to see me for whether it's business, distraction, don't want to. But I welcome that debate only on 2 things: vaccine science and what's in a vaccine. So this has been going on. This book here is quite a famous one. It's just been taken out of circulation in a country in Europe, so you won't be able to get that very easily.
It's been taken out of circulation.
Taken out of circulation
because
what it contains evidence of harms of 20 years on vaccines.
Well, I keep
it's
taking bells that why would people take things down? Surely people can buy what they want to buy. They can read what they want to read.
If they want to buy something, the book that's in the post to me, hopefully from Amazon, is Dissolving Illusions by Susan Humphrey. So once you look at the evidence of history of vaccination, how it worked, what's in it, and the incidence of harms with vaccinated versus unvaccinated, that's the trial we want. That's the evidence that's already come out that the unvaccinated Anthony Moulton study are more healthy. We're not having the debates that matter. That's
right. But you're saying, what, unvaccinated, completely people shouldn't have vaccination at all, or go back to the simple ones of the 60s, which I think we talked about last time?
Well, I'll give you the example. I'm a measles baby. I'm a 1957 baby. So they're assuming that people in my era, around about born in 1957 or 58, had measles naturally caught. And so you have lifelong immunity from measles. So America now is giving these triple vaccines, measles, mumps and rubella, without individually testing what those vaccines do when you combine them with others, with components in the vaccine that are now penetrating the blood-brain barrier with ingredients from animal cells, metals that shouldn't be in those vaccines, contaminants. And we have the most autoimmune challenged generation ever in the US, and they're now mandating what they can do. So when they mandate, you have to have it by law. And for the last 7 years, you won't get a job in a US health facility unless you have the flu vaccine. And this misunderstanding of patient sovereignty, body sovereignty, is what I think we're moving towards in Europe. And that individual debate on measles, mumps and rubella given later, when you look at what they did with Paul Thomas in Ohio, when you give it later, autism goes away. We need to listen to Paul Thomas, we need to listen to Richard Halverson, a British GP, and look at the cumulative effects of something that was caught naturally versus this chronic illness burden we're causing.
Okay, so any new stuff besides that? I mean, you got a book out or something, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, I mean, nothing better to do. So whether it'll get out there, the title, 1st of April I'm launching it, hopefully here. Online it'll be on Kindle first of all, so it's The Emperor Has No HPV Vaccines. It covers a lot of topics and the background. Don't forget, I started looking at this 20 years ago. I wasn't the cynic I am now. And then when you look at chemo, and when you look at the statins, you look at the whole industry, and it's spending ever more to make us ever sicker. So in writing it, even 4 years ago, I was in favour of some screenings. And when I looked at breast screening, for instance, Sweden, Denmark and Canada, it's net harmful. So when you actually look at the evidence, this goes against everything that you've ever been told. And this is me as a health innovation advisor, cabinet office, Isle of Man government, bringing companies here and then going, what about getting them well? And that diet, misunderstanding, toxic body burden comes together. So the good news, we've got, with luck, late June to come and see GPs here, quite open, D-Mangin. D-Mangin is a world expert on de-prescribing, not prescribing but de-prescribing. So I always say it goes to the heart of that Hotel California song by the Eagles. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. So when you're on these 10 or 20 meds, they've never been tried in anyone except for you. So a doctor, by his protocols, ignores diet, is forced on his 4 years of training to go medicines, drugs, but not in combination. So your granddad or mother or brother gets on a cocktail but can't then easily de-prescribe. So Taper MD, if people look it up, it's an innovation by David Healy, Peter Wood and Dr. D. So Dr. D. Mangin says this is how we try and unscramble the symphonies. It's as if you've got 6 different types of music with the drug interactions playing in your head, so you can't think and behave clearly, your body can't respond to getting well, it can't be taken back to health. So she said by de-prescribing in a clinical setting with GPs, working with informed patients, but not these rigid protocols, we cut surgeons free, cut doctors free to say, what is the end game of trying to get them off drugs? So Taper MD, Dr. D will be here late June by the look. Got GPs here on board. So I tried to get this 3 years ago, but it just ran into let's do the same thing.
We need to wrap it up soon. But I mean, you got people watching this who think about doing, taking statins or having the and yet again, I always say this. I think on every interview, if there's other people with other views, we'd love to hear from them. Do you think you're getting anywhere?
Well, it's a long game. It'll be successful after we're all dead. This is a bit of a journey. I would just say read if you can get hold of it, and not ignore the fact that his wiki page is taken down. Just read Malcolm Kendrick's wiki page.
It sounds like conspiracy theories.
Reality. Let's look at reality. So buy the book, The Cholesterol Con, Malcolm Kendrick. Look at the video of Professor Sheriff Sultan on the statins, because once that goes, you realise the emperor's got no clothes. So the first book is on HPV, but it covers some of the statin myths. And just have a debate. I would welcome here a medical person debating the science of statins, the evidence of their harms around the world. So when the Queen's former physician is voicing, foul referee, he's saying the Daily Mail was absolutely negligent to print that nonsense, lacking in science at the weekend. So if Dee and others can get into Parliament to discuss it, I want to do this.
Okay, and we hope your book gets published. We'll no doubt be talking to you again. And this is, you've been on a journey. I keep saying that, but it's not.
I was inside the tent. It's easy when you're outside the tent. I think Upton Sinclair, if I can finish on this, Upton Sinclair, his great words. He says, "A man's ability to understand something depends on his check, his pay to not understanding it," and that's where I was before.